attention. She's got a figure that's shown up in attention. She's poetry in motion, a beautiful sight to see. I get so excited, feel her anatomy. She's real, she's got all the girls a man like. She's real, she's got all the girls a man like. Look at her, she's a bad man, Gemma. Just as fine as she can be. Hey, she's a bad man, Gemma. Oh, just as fine as she can be. Looks like she's bold and beautiful. She's bad. The best is a beauty. Who's a lovely hand? She's bossy, classy. Oh, sexy, sassy. She's heavenly. A treat for the eye to see. She's real. She's got all the girls a man like. She's real. She's got all the girls a man like. Ooh-wee. She's a bad man, Magella. Ooh, she's bad. She's as fine as she can be. Hey, she's a bad man, Magella. Just as fine as she can be.
There's a whole lot of people in the house trying to smoke with the yak in the mouth.
From the Associated Press, this is an Election 2026 update.
Back inside AP's election headquarters here in Washington, I am Sagar Meghani. We are waiting on a couple more big race calls in Texas for that ever important primary race in both parties, Democrats and Republicans, to see who will become the state's next senator, if there will be a new one, apart from John Cornyn come November. That GOP race remains tight. John Cornyn, Wesley Hunt, and Ken Paxton, Jasmine Crockett, and I just forgot his name. How about that? Thomas Talarico. We've only been doing it all night. That's the way election nights work. Talarico and Crockett are the Democratic nominees for racing for this nomination. Diametrically opposed, you have Crockett, who loves to go after the president in public. You have Talarico, who likes to quote the Bible and is much more low-key. This is a fascinating race that's playing out. You see the live images on your screen. We don't have any results yet there, but we will bring them to you. There are some other results in notable races, and there's a fun one actually in Texas. Troy Nails, former sheriff and a congressman, decided he wanted to retire. His identical twin brother, Trevor, became the choice of local voters, and he has now won the nomination. And seeing as how they come from a very, very conservative district, it seems very likely that identical brothers will succeed each other in the Congress. You also have, in another non-surprise, Tom Cotton winning renomination as the Republican for the Senate in Arkansas. We're waiting to hear whether Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders is nominated for another term. And in Texas, again, not a surprise, Greg Abbott has been nominated for another term as governor. There are a lot of other races that have been decided, a lot more to come. You can read about all of them, much more about all of them, at our website, apnews.com. For now, we take you back to images from the campaigns, and we will get your results as they come in.
good position. But what about Dallas's 0 win?
Yeah.
She's going to kill him.
She is. So it's gonna close. And Houston is historically like 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. So like if it's close, then we're in for a long time. But he is outperforming Travis County than where he was expected to, and all around the state. He outperformed numbers. I mean, that's really good.
One last question. No, you're good. I'm at the CBS station now. Why did he?
He's 17. He will vote.
Yeah. Why did he stand out?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Stood out because he has this message of positivity and has like a blue cheek across the I will speak to him.
They all have shared balance.
But he's also strong for the that most recent had him taking the knife and he was speaking.
From the Associated Press, this is an Election 2026 update.
Hello again, here from Washington, the AP's election headquarters, where the wait continues for some calls in the remaining big races of the night. They are both in Texas. They are both for a Senate seat come November. You can see on the screen, we are awaiting hearing from Representative Jasmine Crockett. That's in the top right side of your screen. She is at a popular Dallas nightclub hosting a watch party. She is hoping to beat James Talarico, a state senator, for the Democratic nomination for the Senate seat that is now held by John Cornyn. So on the bottom part of your screen, right side, Wesley Hunt, that is his party, as it were, in Houston. On the lower left, you have Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, his gathering in Dallas. The person you don't see, the party you do not see because there is not one, is John Cornyn, the man who now holds that Senate seat. He is trying to get a fifth term, and for the first time ever is facing a serious GOP contest from both Paxton and Hunt. Now, Cornyn has been watching the results tonight from a Austin hotel behind closed doors with only his staff. He does plan to speak with reporters, but notably is not having an event, is not expected to give a speech to supporters. Perhaps read into what that might mean, perhaps not. This race seems close enough that it may well be a runoff come May before we can find out who the actual GOP challenger will be for this nomination. The AP will, in either event, whether Cornyn speaks to backers or not, the AP will bring you his comments. As a senator first elected to the body in 2002, he spent 6 years as the number 2 Senate Republican, now facing a primary challenge for the first time. Those are the big races that have yet to be decided. Keep it here with us. We will show you live images from these various events and bring you the calls as they happen. Stay with us.
Turns out, I ate them, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times. Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness. You know this. Contact your doctor. He's so glad. This is the time to win.
The future of home shopping is here, and it's only on Homes.com. Introducing Homes.com.
can be released in 3 months.
Welcome back to our first big primary night of the 2026 midterms. All eyes right now on the 5 primaries on both the Republican side and the Democratic side for the U.S. Senate race. Attorney General Paxton on the Democratic side is 2 very hot Democratic candidates, Talarico and this is certainly not a question of vote, but there's been some decisions made about polling places a little bit later than they're polling places will be.
For a few different reasons, right? There are really long elections that can be fought in the West. So here's the issue. Watching that Talarico's lead is gaining at the moment. This is where Jasmine Crockett is expecting to do very well. In Williamson County, notice 0 votes in there. This has been extended. Two voting places in Williamson County have been extended at 11 p.m. Eastern. This will be a Talarico strong vote, so we're expecting to see his vote go up based on that. El Paso, these 2 counties on the western side of Texas right now, the times that are only going to be an hour later. So we will expect very quickly in these 3 centers at those at 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern. This is the one that's going to be tricky because if it's close, at the moment it's not that close, but if it ends up being close, the Williamson County one is going to be the issue. We're going to see how Talarico does right now. 45% of the vote in Talarico and 52% to 45%. So it's a good move here. That's the 101,000 on the Republican side. Dallas tends to be you'll see more votes than that on the Democratic side. So it's a big number.
It's going to be a really big number. It's going to be absolutely critical to Jasmine Crockett's chances. And again, we've got an extension in terms of that primary. Dallas, we are expecting 10 p.m. Eastern closing. In Dallas County, the Century 6 and Williamson County is just north of Boston. So that's going to be 11 p.m. And now it's on the side of the state of El Paso, 10 p.m. We also use the basic case of election auction in Texas, but this makes it all the more so. Let's bring in our colleague, Daniel, so I can talk about the sources in Texas tonight. What are you hearing in terms of the perception of what's going on? And then what we are
Yeah, one of my best, well-tested, but also unscientific ways of doing this election is use anti-information, right? But critical campaign is as exciting for us to maybe get this Jasmine Crockett campaign, the lights, not just the data analysis folks. I feel like this is just but the underlying is, and I think what's really interesting is the Latino, and that is something that folks haven't talked a ton about on other notes, for sure. But if something needs to come out, it will be, it seems, for the psychology because of the Latino vote crisis. Houston, Pasadena, especially, and the reason they say that he's so interesting to Latino voters is because of his religion and as a Latino are older
this congresswoman, that is absolutely her stronghold. Because of these things that happened with the election administration today, this very much changed the perception of what's happening statewide. Just talking to people county by county, let us know when you hear anything juicy or anything new. We've all gotten some love from Texas. Mike, still your best stuff your years. Jen Psaki, Chris Hayes, Morris. Democrats have picked up these two really good strategies. She's
expectation sometimes is because you already have a decision. Going against an unknown state, states in multiple counties. There tends to be this idea that that brand, that persona is going to carry. And so the fact that what Eugene sources are telling us that she's underperforming in some areas where she should be performing well. Because the reality of it is, if you're underperforming here, you're likely to
Thomas Cosgrove talking to you from Texas. So, Tom, you've been holding out on me all these years. You never introduced me to him. I had to do it myself. Talarico, baby. I got to know James over the summer. I've been helping him. We did some stuff in New York, and I just met your good buddy who said, "You worked on Mondale? You must know Tom Cosgrove." I said, "Do I know Tom Cosgrove?" I love you, Thomas. We'll talk. We'll talk tomorrow. We'll talk. So, you came to Texas to run for Texas. I had included in the Democratic presidential. I signed up for that purpose. It was awesome. And then there was one more person who signed up, John Shaw, state senator from the New York. He's a good friend. Not a friend of mine. I've got him since he's texting me right now. He's like, "What's going on? What's going on?" Just been around. Never. He's a good friend. So to me, it breaks my heart. Yeah. Ideas, yes. Ideas, yes. Connections, amazing. In every sphere, in every place. I love it. I love it. We did a big reunion for Mondale. I offered except for him. We had it. It was me, it was him. Mondale was 89 years old. So good. This is a New York thing. I texted him. It's done. We will connect right there. So we're going to go over it now. You have a time. We have time to go. I don't. Running away. It's about 80% his old district. He's going to crush Julie Johnson. And then he's going to have a safety in the city floor. So it's a completely free shot to decide what he wants to do. He's going to be in the house. He can't get ownership because Jeffries keeps up another slot. But so he gets his what he's going to do. Whatever. He and I have a talk. It's looked like to me too. I don't know if Colin well enough to know anything about that yet. But it's got to be fixed. And they both know it. So it'll get fixed. Sure, James is they're both figured it out. They'll figure it out. What I'm saying is a huge star. Is any of a number of different he gets to decide, and he and I have a shared view as it happens of what he should do next. Right now,
Dallas County. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett represents a district in Dallas. And Dallas County has had a lot of legislation in
Senate to represent the state of Texas? Let me hear it. Great. So listen. We've got some time. We've got some drinks. We've got some food. We want you guys to enjoy yourselves. But the fact of the matter is, there is no greater of a conservative fighter than Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. He protected you against Joe Biden.
From the Associated Press, this is an Election 2026 update.
10 o'clock Eastern Time here in Washington at the AP's election headquarters. I am Sagar Meghani. We are still waiting to get some results from Texas in the two outstanding races that remain tonight. You can see on the screen, top right side, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's watch party. She is hosting it at a popular Dallas nightclub. It's kind of the opposite of what you see on the bottom right. John Cornyn, the incumbent four-term senator who is desperately trying to hold on to a seat amid a GOP primary challenge for the first time in his career. He's not even having a party, although we do expect him at that microphone soon to address reporters without having any results in just yet. Next to that, you see a woman at Ken Paxton's podium. He is the state attorney general. He is a MAGA favorite, and he is trying to take away John Cornyn's seat. We also have Wesley Hunt. He's a U.S. congressman. He is not expected to do much, but his mere presence on the ballot may be enough to drive this race to a runoff, which would happen in May. So we might not know for a little while who will be the Republican nominee. We should find out soon who the Democrat will be. We already talked about Jasmine Crockett. On the left side, you have the Talarico campaign. James Talarico is a state senator. He's 36. He is the opposite, personality-wise, of Jasmine Crockett, who relishes going after President Trump in public, being a Democrat firebrand. Talarico is a seminarian. He likes to quote the Bible. He doesn't like politics. He calls it a blood sport in Washington. So it'll be really interesting to see which direction Democrats go in trying to flip this seat. But we haven't had a race call yet. We are hoping to hear from John Cornyn fairly soon. Where we have had the big race calls of the night, they were the ones that were predicted. They were in North Carolina, where the much anticipated Senate face-off is now set. The Democrats have two-term Governor Roy Cooper, who will face off against former Republican National Committee Chair Michael Whatley, who has been endorsed by President Trump. There were plenty of candidates. These were the two who were expected to emerge. This is going to be a hotly contested race, even more so than now. We have some political analysts saying that when it's all said and done, spending on this race will top $1 billion. That would make it the most expensive Senate race ever. We're not going to find out who wins until November, of course, but this is one of the four seats that Democrats are really hoping to flip. If they can do that come November, they will take control of the United States Senate. Still waiting to see what happens tonight in Texas. We see the visuals, the Talarico campaign, the Crockett campaign, the Paxton campaign. We should be hearing shortly from Senator John Cornyn, and we will bring that to you when it happens. Stay with us.
They didn't do that at the original Sad.
Just a little bit more so you can see the foot of my next to it. Move a little bit more this way. They're rolling on this. Whenever you're ready.
Impact her all night in Dallas is where her biggest numbers will come from. If she's going to need to have to overperform in Dallas, it's a big song coming on her, particularly out front. And seeing the unit protest
And again, that's the bottom line is here. That this is the chaos that is going to be developed and it's created come out shortly here in Dallas. Media. It is to do with anywhere in that county, which is election compared to what they ended up with in Dallas County. Elections in that county and that people didn't know to expect created a lot of confusion and that brought out that judicial order against him in Dallas. And that extension has been paused. Is that don't want to consider it out there in general to address the media and things. This is not on the community right now, Dallas around the talent right now, lawsuit against the audience.
Are now going through the state or any place like that, Bear County, there's no one coming in a lot of these places, not just Dallas. Obviously, the Livingston County doesn't have that. We don't have 30-hour election day in a lot of these places. So this is a really big deal. It's just happening now.
Dallas, Talent, statewide as well. Polls, though, consistently show this challenge for Paxton as the front runner for this race, regardless of who ends up on top of the falling short of 50% of the vote, being competitive and runoff.
Let me stop the polling right now. Do we have Jacob Silver on available to us right now? All right, let's just go to Jacob right now. He's actually right now at James Talarico's election. The Jasmine Crockett campaign on behalf of our friend N18G. If you get anything from the Talarico side in terms of their reaction to what happened in the Texas Supreme Court, we're all ears. We just love to hear it. So good luck. Talarico wins, he needs to pull in Jasmine Crockett supporters, a large base of African-American voters in Texas. The Republicans would love nothing more. And in Dallas County, the Republicans would love nothing more than for conspiracy to put out there that things were stolen.
We don't have any of the results because there was a lot of confusion today. And so, you know, our Democratic Party chair, Kornyn, he beat me to the punch. as myself and Colin all read, we're about to file a lawsuit to keep the voting polls open. We were able to keep the polls open, but I can tell you now that people have been disenfranchised. The reason that we knew that there were problems is because we were receiving the phone calls and the emails. The polls were supposed to stay open until 9, according to a court order. The Supreme Court, just a few minutes ago, just said, shut it down. The Supreme Court also said that they are to separate any votes out that came in after 7 p.m. So here's the deal. I have no idea how it is that clerks are going to know who was in line by what time, because the rule is that if you're in line by 7, then you get to vote. And so once there was a court order saying you had until 9, I'm sure that there were people that joined the line after 7. They now are telling them that you have to separate the votes out. What this means is that we will not know what votes are to be tallied from Election Day out of Dallas County. For sure, we won't know that tonight. So knowing that Dallas County is a big dump of votes, we, in my opinion, will not know the election results overall tonight. We need to see the Dallas County votes to see where they are. I mean, if the early vote comes in, which we may have the early vote soon, if it comes in and I'm losing Dallas County, then we know kind of where this thing is going. So, so that's my news, is that we're not going to have election results tonight, in my opinion, based upon what specifically is taking place in Dallas County. Unfortunately, this is what Republicans like to do. And so they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why. So I want you to enjoy yourselves, but I won't be back tonight because I have no idea of when we're going to get results, and I fully anticipate it won't be until tomorrow. So I love y'all too. Thank you so very much for being here. Love you down. I love you down, Dallas.
God bless the United States and God bless the great state of Texas. Thank you so much. Thank you.
43% is where John Cornyn, the incumbent, is at. Ken Paxton is trailing with 40%. He's behind a lot of what just happened in Dallas County for reasons that are not clear. Wesley Hunt is staying at 13%. He's at 13% all night. I just want to go to Dallas County and show you this. This is the Republican Senate contest in Dallas County. Look how far behind Ken Paxton is. He's involved in these shenanigans in Dallas County.
Jason, stand by.
And Wesley Hunt's vote do not add up to John Cornyn's vote in Dallas County. I don't know whether that's relevant to why Ken Paxton went to court tonight to shut down the votes of those who were in line after 7 p.m., but it is a place where Ken Paxton is not doing well.
All right, I want to go right back to Dallas County right now. Rosa Flores standing by. Rosa, I very, very rudely interrupted you while you were starting to tell us about your communications with Dallas County. I only did that because we had that live feed to take from Jasmine Crockett. Please start over. Tell us about your communications with the county. What happened in those communications tonight?
Yeah, so how they explained it to me is because the Texas Supreme Court struck down the lower court ruling, which extended voting for the Democratic primary from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time, all those ballots that were passed, Rachel, between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m., those will be, quote, separated and kept. Now, the big question is, will they be counted? And I can tell you, talking to voters who have gone to multiple polling places, trying to find the right polling place. One woman was
Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We're next. Yeah. Literally interviewed moments before the polls closed because this Texas Supreme Court ruling came down. They were all worried about their vote counting, and they were all talking about how this was voter suppression because they were really trying to vote and they just couldn't vote. Like I said before, I'm a data girl, Rachel, and just to give you a sense, as I mentioned earlier, here at about 5:30 p.m. Central Time, 388 people had voted at this polling place, and according to the election judge, again, of the Democratic Party, about 350 had been turned away. That just gives you a sense of how many people were out in Dallas County trying to figure out where to vote and trying to.
That's just remarkable. That's a remarkable snapshot of what was happening there, Rosa. But just to be clear, what the county told you is that votes cast after a specific time are going to be kept. But they didn't necessarily say they're going to be counted, or it's not clear at this point whether they will be counted. They'll just be somehow preserved and segregated from the vote that came in earlier today.
You're absolutely right, and I followed up with that, Rachel, because I was very curious about what that meant. Does that mean that they keep them just for now? And the individual from the spokesperson from the county didn't go into specifics because, of course, that's a lot of legalese. And she was like, I can't speak for the Democratic Party because this is a challenge that the Democratic Party is putting forth. But she did say that they will be kept. But from talking to all of the voters today, I can tell you that what they were worried about was their vote counting, especially because they had gone through, in essence, all these hoops to try to vote, trying to figure out, okay, wait, where do I vote? Even the website crashed, Rachel. So people who were trying to figure out where can I vote, they couldn't even find out where to vote because the website crashed. So there were just so many hurdles that these voters had to go through just to cast their ballot today.
Rosa Flores for us in Dallas County, Texas. Rosa, I know we will be back. We keep reporting whatever we can learn about how this is going to be worked out, what's going to be the dispensation of those ballots, how voters if they can be reassured about how this has been administered in Dallas County. It's all really, really important. Thank you. Great to be in there. The last polls of the night have closed. North Carolina, Arkansas, Texas. We are watching this sort of remarkable litigation play out in Texas in terms of votes counting.
and being cast. We as yet may.
Yeah, originally we were supposed to hear from the senator around 8:30. That's been pushed back several times, and we just got an update that it'll be about 10 to 20 more minutes. And so he'll be speaking right here behind me at this podium. Again, we've been saying this is not a watch party. This is actually just a press event. The seats behind the camera filled with reporters and photographers who are waiting to hear from the senator. We know some of those numbers were late coming in, so right now, as you've been showing some numbers, Cornyn's about 44%, Paxton at 39%, and Wesley Hunt at about 13%, with about over 60% of the votes being counted. So obviously a long way to go with these numbers, but this is pretty much what the candidates have told us for the last couple months that they expect. The reason this is not a watch party is because Senator Cornyn said we're going to wait to have that watch party until the runoffs in May. So it was very clear that this was the expectation. We know that President Trump did not endorse anyone for this primary in this race, and perhaps he has been waiting for the runoff. So it'll be interesting to see what he does going forward with Cornyn and Paxton, but of course a very contentious and very expensive race so far. Tens of millions of dollars have been spent in just advertising alone, so we can expect that to continue, and we are very interested to see what the senator has to say. But again, what we've heard from him in the last just couple of weeks was that this was the expectation, the numbers that he was looking at.
I remember getting the first jersey. Mascot came out and he just started giving to everybody.
Yeah, it should be about 10-15 minutes. Okay.
Help stop the frustration and start taking a line every day. Align Correct is specifically designed by Cash Blood Travelers to help you with your occasional
We, the people of the United States, we the free, we the proud.
People are really down on this project about the economy. No ethics violations are being prosecuted.
Eastern time, as we are covering the first big primary now of the 2026 midterm elections. Now, at this hour, at this moment, there are only 2 precincts in one county in Texas where vote usually is still coming in. Where polls are still those 2 precincts in Williamson County, which is just north of Austin, Texas. There has been litigation tonight, a ruling from an order, ruling from a judge in Dallas County, ordering that in Dallas County the vote had to stay open for longer because there is mass confusion, countywide in Dallas County. People are showing up, expecting to be able to vote in Dallas County. Being told they needed to go to specific precinct locations they never had to go before. Because of that confusion, there was a judge's order to extend voting in Dallas County. The Attorney General of the state of Texas, Republican Ken Paxton, who is a candidate for a U.S. Senate primary on the Republican side, even went to Texas Supreme Court and secured an order from the Texas Supreme Court to stop that extension of the which in legitimacy is a chaotic thing to order because people were voting, their votes were cast. Essentially to segregate those votes, separate those votes. So the temporary overall for the Texas Supreme Court right now at this hour, Dallas is another big strong vote for Texas Democratic Party and Jasmine Crockett, who is a top podcast with James Talarico, state representative who has for the Democratic Senate primary. That is where we stand right now. Let me give you one other little wrinkle here. Something that Alan Belshey has been noticing. We've got a little bit of specific reporting on it from Jake Silroff, that's unfortunately out in Boston, specifically in Travis County. But we're noticing that there's one big category of vote that really just doesn't seem to be factoring into the vote totals we are getting on Texas almost across the board.
From the Associated Press, this is an Election 2026 update.
All eyes still on Texas on this primary night, the first one of 2026. I am Sagar Megani here at the AP's election headquarters in Washington. Per usual, we are waiting on Texas. It is the big race, or two races that have not yet been called. We are waiting to hear from most of the candidates who are trying to become the two nominees to square off for a Senate seat come November. We did hear from Representative Jasmine Crockett, who saw it live here earlier. We are waiting to hear, hopefully soon, from some combination of John Cornyn, the incumbent Republican. Jasmine Crockett already spoke. You see her rally up on the right side. Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, who is challenging Cornyn for his seat. Also James Talarico, the state representative who is challenging Crockett for the Democratic nomination. Now, all of this waiting, unfolding after, of course, chaos in Texas earlier today. Democrats challenged the fact that their voters were not able to vote at their usual spots in two different counties, in Dallas County, which is Crockett's home, and another in suburban Austin, because Republicans had not agreed to hold joint elections. That meant that after 4 years, people in these two counties could cast their ballots anywhere in that county. They were then redirected to a specific precinct. That set off all kinds of issues. Democrats then sued. A judge then ruled that those polling places could stay open in those two counties 2 hours later than they had. However, Attorney General Ken Paxton's campaign pushed back. Now the state Supreme Court has stepped in and said that the ballots of people cast who got in line after 7 o'clock, those have to be set to the side. It is unclear when or if those ballots will be counted. It is unclear how the Texas Supreme Court's order will be carried out, but it has cast a lot of this, perhaps the most watched races of the night, into a lot of chaos here. Jasmine Crockett complained about it much earlier in the evening. She said it's basically taking away the vote from people. James Talarico complained about it. Republicans notably did not sue over this, so the order did not apply to Republican voters who wanted to get in line and vote after the original cutoff time. So the upshot right now, it's unclear exactly how this is going to unfold. As a result, it's unclear how these primaries are going to unfold. But this is for a big seat. Texas Democrats have not won a statewide election in 32 years. They have not claimed a Senate seat since Lloyd Benson won re-election back in 1988. If they are able to flip the seat that John Cornyn has held since 2002 come November, that would be a big boon in their effort to flip 4 seats overall come November. Texas wasn't even on most Democrats' lists of places that they really could flip. But depending on where the momentum goes here, it could get very interesting for what happens in November. So to recap, we are waiting to hear from most of the campaigns. You have James Talarico's campaign rally on the top left. You have John Cornyn, who notably is not holding a rally. He and his advisors sat behind closed doors in a hotel room in Austin to watch the results, and that setup you see is not in some big hotel ballroom. He's just going to speak to some reporters. It's a very low-key thing. Now, compare what you see on the lower right with the top left. Talarico top left, Cornyn bottom right. Two opposite ends, not just of the political spectrum, but the demographic perspective now. You have James Talarico is 36 years old, right? He's a state representative. He's a seminarian. He used to teach grade school. John Cornyn is more than twice his age. He is 74 years old. He is seeking his 5th term in the United States Senate. He is about as staunch conservative as you can be. He was the number 2 Senate Republican for years when Mitch McConnell was the Republican leader. So 2 very different views for Texas will be on display in coming minutes, and they are both going to speak at some point in very, very different venues. When we'll see Ken Paxton, that is unclear. He has become a MAGA darling despite a lot of political baggage. He was facing an impeachment trial for corruption. His wife accused him of infidelity, but that did not dent his standing, and it only made him more popular as time has gone on within President Trump's MAGA base. And this is the first time that John Cornyn has now faced a serious primary challenge since he was elected to the Senate back in 2002. Also notably in this race, with Cornyn, with Paxton, with Wesley Hunt, President Trump has not offered his coveted endorsement to any of those 3 men. And he was with all 3 of them last week in Corpus Christi, called them out by name. But there was no endorsement to be offered. So it'll be interesting to see what matters more in this race. Is it the money that they've been able to bring in? Or is it the fact that Donald Trump has not put his weight behind one of them? So the wait continues, not only for them to speak tonight, but we may not get any kind of end to this race tonight. With Wesley Hunt, who is a U.S. congressman, not very high profile. Ken Paxton's name is much more well known. John Cornyn, of course, again, formerly the number 2 Senate Republican. This race is likely headed for a runoff, which means it would be decided in May. If the Democrat race ends tonight with Jasmine Crockett winning, with James Talarico winning, they will have a good head start heading into the midterms. But like with a lot else in Texas right now, there is a lot of waiting and seeing. We will leave you for now to watch these pictures. We will get back to you once we hear one of these candidates, whether it's John Cornyn, whether it's James Talarico, whether it's Ken Paxton, whether they come out and speak. Stay with us. We'll be back soon.
I will. My tempers are also accommodations.
Test. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You guys find a window?
Maybe.
Oh, I'm just seeing.
I suppose he's like yeah.
Interesting.
Did you take it to one? I'll take it to one.
It's my brand. It's bad. I like his brand. It's smart. I kind of have that moment. It's all about you realize somebody else.
That's why I wanted to be.
Make a break for it.
Yeah, because I thought you were coming into it. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there.
No, it's kind of like static.
No, you're good.
Well, good evening, everyone. The statewide early results are in, and we did very well, as expected, and we were on to the runoff. I want to start by thanking my family, without whose support and love I could not do what I get an opportunity to do, representing 32 million Texans in the United States Senate. I want to thank everybody who voted for me, and the way I view it, it's an indication of their trust in the service that I've provided to this great state for many years now. To Congressman Wesley Hunt and his family, you ran a spirited race. and you have a bright future, and I wish you well. We now head into a 12-week primary runoff. Elections are about choices, and the choice in the Republican race for the U.S. Senate is crystal clear. I've worked for decades to build the Republican Party, both here in Texas and nationally. I refuse to allow a flawed, self-centered, and shameless candidate like Ken Paxton risk everything we've worked so hard to build over these many years. There is simply too much at stake in this midterm election for our state and for our country. The final 2 years of President Trump's agenda hangs in the balance. I'm proud to have supported President Trump and worked with him to help him achieve his goals in the Congress. If he's nominated, there's a high risk that Paxton would lose this Senate seat, taking 5 congressional seats down with him. And you don't have to take my word for it. In public polling in the last few months, U.S. Senate nominees are either tied with or beating Paxton if he were the nominee. Ken Paxton as the nominee would be a dead weight at the top of the ticket for Republicans running all across this great state. Over the next 12 weeks, Texas Republican primary voters will hear more about my record of delivering conservative victories in the United States Senate and learn more about Ken's indefensible personal behavior and failures in office. Just like the primary, we have a plan to win the runoff, and we are in the process of executing it. Judgment Day is coming for Ken Paxton. Thank you all. May God bless Texas, and may God continue to bless the United States of America.
Take a few questions. Jim, you want to start with AP?
Senator, typically a runoff can be a problem spot for an incumbent when you've got an upstart. Do you feel like, what do you feel like you need to do to motivate your voters versus Ken Paxton's voters now?
Well, fortunately, I've had the experience of winning a runoff previously when I was Attorney General. I won a contested runoff for the Republican nomination then. Obviously, we need to encourage as many people as possible who voted in the primary to come back on May the 26th. Fortunately, Texas has an early voting period, which will allow anybody and everybody who wants to vote an opportunity to cast their ballot early. If they don't do it, then they can do it on May the 26th. I think there'll probably be, at last count, maybe as many as 5 races on the ballot, which will make it much more likely we'll see a robust turnout of voters then. But as I said, and as I think we've demonstrated, there's simply just too much at stake for Texas voters to stay home. And I don't expect them to stay home. I expect a robust turnout. We'll certainly be encouraging that.
Teresa, WFA.
Senator Cornyn, how did we get here? How is it that in your run for a 5th term, you are facing your first runoff as a Senate candidate?
How did we get here?
Yeah, what is it about Ken Paxton that's driven you to this point?
Well, I like to think my family I mentioned, without whose love and support I couldn't do this, but I simply could not in good conscience let someone like Ken Paxton waltz into the Senate as the Senate nominee for the Republican Party for the reasons I mentioned. I think he'll be an albatross around the neck of all of the Republican candidates, including the 5 new congressional seats that President Trump is depending on to win the majority in the House in the midterm elections, which is a challenge given the history. So we will continue to do what we've done and talk about my record of support for the president and his policies and my record of legislative accomplishments. And I would say that, as I've said before, that character is on the ballot. Ken Paxton doesn't believe that that matters. He believes that all of his misbehavior and his scandals are sort of baked in the cake, and he's won a couple of elections since much of that has come out. But there's much more that will come out in the runoff, and which will demonstrate his unfitness for office and his liability of him, the potential liability of him being the nominee in November. I won by 10 points in 2020, and I think I can help down ballot, and I can help President Trump during the remaining 2 years of his term of office after this election.
Last one right here.
Yeah, so Senator, the president has expressed support for you and also for Ken Paxton, did not endorse anyone in this primary. Do you expect that to change now that it's gone to a runoff, and do you expect it to be you?
There's only one person on the planet who knows what President Trump's going to do, and that's him. Certainly, I talk to the president on a regular basis. He's got a great team around him of real professionals, Susie Wild, Chris LaCivita, Tony Fabrizio, just to name a few. And he understands what's at stake. But I understand also why in a contested primary with 3 of us, he didn't want to have to choose between us and disappoint some of his own base of support. And I think he wanted to see me earn this nomination, as we are well on the path to doing, before he made any kind of decision. But when or if he makes a decision and to get involved in the race is entirely up to him.
Thank you guys. Thank you all.
You have just heard from the Texas Senate incumbent, John Cornyn, who for the first time since winning that seat in 2002 faced a serious primary challenge from both Ken Paxton and from Wesley Hunt. Now, we've already heard from Wesley Hunt, not a national name. He is a member of Congress. We are now waiting for Ken Paxton to speak. The sitting Texas Attorney General, a MAGA firebrand. Let's just say he and John Cornyn are not good friends. This has been a very bitter primary fight. We don't have a resolution yet in this race, one of the Senate races that there's been a lot of focus on so far. Top left side of your screen is the James Talarico campaign. We've already heard from Jasmine Crockett. They are the 2 Democrats vying for this nomination. It's unclear whether we will get that resolution tonight or not. What we do know now is that the Republican race will not be called tonight. The AP has called a runoff election between John Cornyn and Ken Paxton. Now, we heard John Cornyn say earlier, Judgment Day is coming for Ken Paxton, that Cornyn plans to leverage his experience. This is his bid to win for a 5th time, to knock down Ken Paxton, who, again, is a MAGA darling, but carries a lot of political baggage from a corruption trial as Attorney General due claims of infidelity by his wife. John Cornyn has been going on about that. Now, we will be ready to toss over to about 200 miles north from Austin to Dallas from the Ken Paxton campaign.
This last primary season to travel the state with Attorney General Ken Paxton and help take out some rhinos in the Texas House, which we're doing again tonight, if you weren't aware of. And everywhere we traveled, I got to tell one story. And I got to tell the story of the radical sham impeachment of Ken Paxton just a couple years ago. And I love telling this story. I remember being brought back into the office with leadership. And I remember leadership in the Texas House looking at me at the time being led by Dade Phelan, who is no longer going to be in the Texas House, I might add. I remember being brought back and said, Nate, what's it going to take to get you to to get you to impeach Ken Paxton, our great Attorney General? And I said, all I need is one thing, evidence. And he looked at me, this leadership shill under our current speaker, and said, Nate, we've already given you 176 pages. Said, no, friends, you've given me hearsay. He is going to be proven innocent, and he will be our great Attorney General again. I was denied the ability to ask questions. We were given 48 hours, and let me tell you something. When the Uniparty comes against you with that level of force, we've seen this story before with President Trump. I will tell you this, that the greatest threat to the Uniparty is the greatest threat to eliminating our freedom. And there is one thing, and one thing only, that matters in this, is we need to choose the senator who is going to stand with us and not with those who are paying the big checks to John Cornyn right now in Washington, D.C. I remember looking as our great Attorney General was being attacked by the Texas House, and I remember knowing that he would come out on top. I remember traveling the state and watching as he riled up the base to get true conservatives behind us. And I'm here to tell you, there is no greater Attorney General than we've ever had for the state of Texas. A man who has stood and been steadfast for election integrity like no other Attorney General in the history of our country ever has. A man who has stood with us against the sexualization of our children. A man who has stood for life. A man who has stood for religious freedom across America. A man who has stood in the way of the woke radical left trying to come against us as believers and as Christians. A man who has walked with us, talked with us, and been an ally in every single way. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to see our next U.S. Senator Ken Paxton representing us in the U.S. Senate. I'll tell you this right now. There is one man who can stand up to the radical swamp in D.C. in this race. There is one man with a backbone that's been galvanized, that has fought for us since day one. There is one man that has refused to bend a knee to the incredibly strong lobby that is coming for every single person that does not bend a knee at their will. I will tell you this right now. I will stand with Ken Paxton till the end. I have stood with him since the beginning, because he stands with you and he stands with me, and he says Texas first, not the radical special interests that are trying to take over our country today. There's a plan in Washington, D.C. to create a situation where illegals can begin to vote across our nation. Now we know that illegals are already voting in some of our blue states. We know that there's voter fraud. Why would we choose anyone else to be our battle-tested warrior in Washington, D.C. than the one Attorney General that refused to back down and refused to acknowledge and continued to say that 2020 was a stolen election? We have a warrior who's ready to fight with us. We have a warrior who's ready to stand with us. We have a warrior who's ready to run through the finish line. And there is no one I would rather get behind inside of this runoff that we are heading into than the one and only, our next U.S. Senator, Ken Paxton. Can you get loud for our next U.S. Senator? He's going to join us in just a moment. And I have a feeling tonight is going to be an incredible night. One more time, give it up for our next U.S. Senator.
Promoted. It was earning, but investing for the future, I definitely needed a plan. With his advisor Dennis, Alex invested his savings into 3 accounts. One for now, one for later, and of course, his retirement. The plan in motion put the future in focus. The wedding, the barn many kids, maybe kids. The point here, Alex has more than big goals for his future. He's got a plan to get there.
In the event my CIDP worsens, my friends might decide it's too much for them to handle.
When life with a rare disease gets tough,
I had been used to being really active, and then all of a sudden it couldn't go my way.
that's when the Thrive Team gets going.
When you do this, your body will start. I'm my first party, and so I really need your help. Honestly, the best thing that's happened to me about friendship.
Watch the Thrive Team at work on Rare Well Done. Streaming now on People.
You're ready to get out of nowhere. Things slammed right into me, so to speak, before I called the police.
Read CBS tonight. And now another show vanished 5 years ago after she was found raped. Classified intel.
It's a go home for midterm.
My ring. The monkey stole my ring.
Well, you think you know something? The wonder in economics domain. It's like finding out E-Trade is running with Morgan Stanley, so you can invest and plan under one roof. Remarkable.
We are more alike, my friend, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friend, than we are unalike.
For our new podcast, In This Now presents Cloud, we are positioning ourselves at the intersection of culture and politics.
We talk about what we see in our news so you can start to clock too. In This Now presents Clock. Listen now. New episodes drop Thursdays.
We're coming up on 11 p.m. Eastern Time on what is turning out to be a really interesting first big primary night of 2026 midterms. This is a look at the status in the Texas Democratic U.S. Senate primary. This is too early to call for our partners at the Associated Press. You see James Talarico just over 50%, Jasmine Crockett just under 50%. 50% is the magic number in terms of whether or not this is going to go to a race, to a runoff in which these two will have to face off again at the end of May. If either of them gets over 50%, they will win outright and they will be the Democratic nominee for Senate in November. On the Republican side, we do have a projection that in the Senate race in Texas, the Republican race will go to a runoff. That will be incumbent Republican U.S. Senator John Cornyn in a runoff against Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. I will just share this with you. John Cornyn reacting to the news that he will be going to the runoff against Ken Paxton. Cornyn said this, quote, Texas Republican primary voters will learn more about Ken's indefensible personal behavior and failures in office. Quote, Judgment Day is coming for Ken Paxton. Thank you all. That's going to be a lot of fun. Ali, so you've obviously been very focused on these Senate races, but let's talk about some of the House races that you've been watching as well.
Okay, this one's a gift for you. In Texas 15, and this is just moments ago, been called Bobby Polito is going to represent the Democrats in the election. 88% of the vote in Bobby Polito is as a musician, a Grammy Award-winning Tejano artist, and he has defeated Ada Cuellar, which is an interesting race. But to your point about Cornyn and struggling, incumbents struggling tonight, there are a lot of incumbents struggling. I want to go to District 18 in Texas. This is an interesting story. There are two Democratic incumbents running against each other, Christian Menefee and Al Green. Christian Menefee's been in Congress for about 3 weeks or something. Al Green had his district redistricted, so to 18, even though Menefee's just been there for a few weeks, it's more his district than it was Al Green's district. They're running against each other. 70% of the vote is in. I do want to remind you, again, virtually none of the same-day vote is in. 2, 5, 3%. But there's a difference of 2,500 votes, so it's not decided. But Menefee is winning there. Let's go to Dallas. Right there, Texas 33. This is an interesting story. Colin Allred was the incumbent. Julie Johnson is the incumbent. They worked together. This has not been a very friendly campaign. Colin, with 61% of the vote, Colin Allred is winning there, 45.5% to 33.9% for Julie Johnson. Remember, Colin Allred stepped out to run for the Senate last time, and now he's back in. Let's go to GOP primaries. I want to go to, hold on, where am I looking here? Right. Well, I was going to show you, here we go. Let's go to Gonzales, District 23. We were talking about this earlier. Tony Gonzales, who beat his challenger, Brandon Herrera, by about 400 points last time around, is now still ahead. 58% of the vote in, and he's at 44% to 40% for Brandon Herrera. Again, this was a super, super close race last time, and there's still 42% of the vote to come in. But at the moment, Tony Gonzales, despite all the scandals surrounding him, and it is a lot, is still in.
That's remarkable. Chris, go ahead.
I just want to react to John Cornyn's statement. One of the things that's so sort of fascinating and sort of grimly comedic about watching these sort of battles in the era of Donald Trump is like, Donald Trump is the president of the United States. You're going to attack a Republican because what he did, he was himself stole from private life with women. Like, does that work anymore? I mean, there is this sense that like maybe it does. Maybe there's a different set of rules for Donald Trump, and you can still run a campaign against your opponent or Republican primary, which you basically say this president is such a character.
So Cornyn has been running ads against Paxton in this primary, calling him
Well, you know, John Cornyn said he was concerned about a bunch of radicals who were going to show up to vote today. It looks like you all showed up. I want to start by thanking my kids, my grandchildren for their constant love and support. I think I speak for every parent and grandparent in this room when I say this. Our children and their future are what we are fighting for every single day. For us, this is about saving America for the next generation. I want to take a moment to thank you all and every supporter across the state who has taken the time to volunteer, to vote, to get involved in this critical fight. And thank you to the Paxton Patriots for dedicating your time and your resources to support this effort and help us get our message out all across Texas. Together with your support, we just sent a message loud and clear to Washington. We are not going to go quietly, and we are not going to let you buy the seat. I want to tell you the last time I felt this kind of energy in one room, I was actually at Mar-a-Lago when President Trump announced he was running again in 2024. I don't know if you remember, but it was right after the midterms and everyone was turning on the president. The establishment, the media, and most Republican elected officials in America were lining up against him. Not me. I was proud to fly to Mar-a-Lago and be one of the only elected officials in America, along with my good friend Congressman Troy Nehls, who stood with the president the night he announced his campaign. Troy and I, along with everyone else there, knew something special was happening that night. And we were right. Right now, I feel that same momentum, the same sense that history is turning. Now let's talk about what happened, what just happened. John Cornyn spent around $100 million trying to buy this seat. We spent around $5 million. It was confirmed today that he received the most ad support for an incumbent in a single primary in U.S. history. But we proved something they'll never understand in Washington. Texas is not for sale. As votes continue to be counted, it looks like we're headed to a runoff. And that's because of you. The people of Texas made your voices heard. After all the personal attacks, which there were many, and after all the lies, you listened to what John Cornyn was selling, and you weren't buying it. Nearly 60% of Texas voters who have known Cornyn for over 40 years, after hearing $100 million worth of ads, chose to vote against the incumbent. That's historic. Tonight, change was on the ballot, and change won. Texans want new leadership. They want someone with a proven record of fighting and winning for them. And that's exactly what I'm going to deliver. Because for too long, John Cornyn has turned his back on us. For too long, he attacked the border wall by calling it naive and pushed amnesty while our country was being invaded. For too long, He stabbed our president in the back by trying to derail his presidential campaigns and supporting the Democrats' lawfare against the president. And for too long, he sold us out to Democrats, even siding with Joe Biden to push the worst gun control bill in decades. Those days are coming to an end. And now, as we head into this runoff, we're going to make the choice even clearer. While John Cornyn was cutting deals on gun control and amnesty, I was suing corrupt Joe Biden over 107 times. 107 times. And we didn't just file lawsuits, we won massive victories for our freedoms, for our border security, and for our Constitution. That's the contrast. When he compromised, we fought. It's not about personal attacks, it's about what your record of delivering for the people of Texas is. And on that front, John Cornyn has failed us time and time again. I've traveled the state asking one simple question. I've done this since day one, every group I've been in front of. In his over 40 years of office, you cannot name one single accomplishment that he's done to help the state of Texas. 40 years. And without fail, everywhere I go, no one has an answer. No one can name that accomplishment. The people of Texas deserve better. That's the message we're taking into the runoff. I think you all might remember the last time a U.S. Senate race went to a runoff in Texas. It was 2012. A political outsider, not well known at the time, by the name of Ted Cruz, took on the establishment giant. No one said he could do it. And after getting second place in the initial primary, patriotic Texans showed up in the runoff. And you know what happened? Some smart people in the audience. Ted Cruz performed over 22 points better and won the runoff in a resounding victory. The same thing is going to happen here. I've been in 2 statewide runoffs as Attorney General, and I've never won by less than 30 points. And I don't plan on starting now. The victory we're going to secure in this runoff will be even sweeter than the last ones. Now, John Cornyn is going to try to steal the election with another $100 million going into this Senate race. But here's what we proved tonight. While the money may be on his side, the people are on our side. And in Texas, the people always win. As we reflect on this election, I want to take a moment to thank Wesley Hunt for being in this race. Wesley served our country honorably in uniform. And I have no doubt he ran because he loves Texas and he wanted to continue serving our state. And let me say this to everyone who voted. Whether you voted for me, for Wesley, or even John, I'm going to fight to earn your support. Whether you were my strongest ally or you donated to fund the attacks against me, I want you to know that I'm going to fight every day to earn your support because this is going to be the #1 Senate race in America targeted by the Democrats. We cannot let them take it. Our party is a big tent. We don't agree on everything, but we agree on the most important thing. We must defeat the Democrats in November. I want you on this team because this campaign is bigger than one person. It's about the future of Texas and the future of our great country, America. As Attorney General, I've won 3 elections, and I've won those general elections because I've focused on uniting our party. We still have an important runoff ahead, no doubt, but I think everyone in this room, everyone in Texas, and everyone in Washington knows where this is headed. I will be the Republican nominee, and we must stay focused. Because the Democrats have never been more radical, they've never been more unhinged. We've got James Talarico, a far-left radical who wants to abolish ICE, says God is non-binary, I'm not even sure I know what that means, and thinks Christians are commanded to put boys in girls' sports. He will do nothing more than be a puppet for Chuck Schumer and the National Democrats. That's what we're up against. So we must stay focused, we must stay united, and we must be ready to send a second conservative senator to Washington. Ted Cruz has been a champion for Texas judges and defended our freedoms. He's fought for us every single day in the Senate. And I think it's time we send him and President Trump some reinforcements. And I'm running to do just that. I want to help confirm strong constitutional conservative judges who will defend our rights, not undermine them. I want to help make America healthy again by taking on big food and big pharma, just like I've done as Attorney General. I want a lower cost for you and your family by cutting fraud and the wasteful spending that's driving inflation. I want to stand shoulder to shoulder with our brave men and women in uniform at this critical moment in our nation's history. I want to go to the Senate to fight for you every single day. So let's finish this, Texas. We have 3 months to push forward, to grow this movement, to bring more people into this campaign before we get to the general election. Please knock on doors, make the calls, help your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, get involved in the movement to take this seat back from the swamp and return it to the people of Texas. This is our moment. And I cannot thank you enough for your prayers, for your hard work, for your vote, and for your belief in me. God bless you. God bless this great state of Texas, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you all.
Planning to move? Choose Pods, the most awarded container moving company. Pods brings the container to you, then we'll take it to your new home or store it at a secure pod storage center. And you don't have to do the driving. Trust Pods with your next move. Look at pods.com.
The cold truth is, you can't work from home when you're sick. You need fast relief. Alka-Seltzer Plus Day Cold and Flu Liquid Gels burst into action, relieving your cold and flu symptoms fast. Nothing works faster. Alka-Seltzer Plus.
Blood Lance is just a fancy-looking fusion body. It's Gillette's best shape, and its ultra-soft lace lasts 50% longer. Hey, Joe, help me on my cheeks. Gillette, best the man can get. Keeps getting better.
Here I am, field trip chaperone.
Before helping prevent migraine at Tulip, doctors hard keeping plans.
And look at me now.
You'll never truly forget migraine, but Tulip reduces attacks, making more zero migraine days possible to help give that forget you get migraine feeling.
Don't take it if emergent. Stop taking and get help right away for allergic reactions like trouble breathing, face, lip, or tongue swelling, itching, or rash. Tell your doctor about increased blood pressure or color changes, pain, or numbness in fingers and toes.
Ask your doctor about Tulip to help prevent migraine.
I don't like that. Yes, I was on that call.
Oasis Springs and Spa.
The right money rules aren't as absurd as you think.
Instagram teen accounts with automatic protections. With content settings now inspired by 13+ movie ratings. And limits on who can contact teens. Why do you think so? Stop. Good standing on box. 3, 2, 1. Instagram teen accounts with automatic protections.
I agree, but still no proof.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton mingling with supporters after essentially earning a runoff with John Cornyn for the Republican nomination for Cornyn's Texas Senate seat come November. Paxton says change was on the ballot and change won for Texas, blasting Cornyn as a politician whose time has come and gone, accusing him of voting against Donald Trump, of trying to sideline the president's agenda. Paxton is a big MAGA favorite, very clearly aligning himself with the president and that agenda. So come May, it will be John Cornyn trying to secure a path to winning a 5th Senate seat, first elected in 2002, against Ken Paxton in May. As for who they will face in the November general election, we still don't know. There's been a lot of chaos in Texas tonight as we move one step closer, several months, but one step closer to learning who is going to claim that Senate seat in Texas. James Talarico, a state senator, all of 36 years old, who has quickly become a Democratic favorite. You see his campaign rally on the left side of the screen in Austin, Texas. We've already heard from Jasmine Crockett, Texas Congresswoman from the Dallas area, who has been complaining about some moves, she says, by Republicans that disenfranchised Democrat voters, both in Dallas County and another one not far from where Talarico is right now, outside of Austin, where Republicans did not sign on to hold joint primaries with Democrats. That meant that for the first time in years, Democrats had to be in very specific precincts as opposed to being able to vote anywhere in that county. That caused a whole lot of confusion. That led to long lines. That led to Democratic lawsuits. That led to a judge ruling that polling places in those counties had to stay open. 2 hours later, Ken Paxton's campaign complained. The state Supreme Court got involved, said those ballots need to be separated. It's not entirely clear at this moment what that means, when or if those ballots will actually be counted. Jasmine Crockett earlier was furious, saying that there cannot be a winner decided until votes from Dallas County, from where she is from, are counted. So that hangs in the balance right now. She says she will not speak again. We have not actually laid eyes on James Talarico tonight, but clearly supporters still waving signs, still hoping that the state senator does come out to speak. If and when he does, we at the AP will bring it to you. So stay tuned for more images as the first night of primaries of what promises to be a very interesting midterm campaign moves on here on this Tuesday. Stay with us.
There's an interesting story here that Jen was talking about a little earlier. We now have 94% of the vote in, but it's so close that it's not been called yet. This is NC4. Valerie Fouché, the incumbent, is leading by 1,682 votes. It's 49.4 to 48.3. Nita Alam is the challenger here. This one at night. I mean, it's very rare that you have 94% of the vote in and you're not actually able to call a race. So this one we're watching very closely.
And that's a really interesting race. Again, one of those generational competitions. Fouché is 69 years old. Alam is 32 years old. Alam's been endorsed by Bernie Sanders and Justice Democrats. She's really good at social media. The Democratic Party figures like David Hogg have campaigned for her. Valerie Fouché, not a particularly controversial Democratic member of Congress, not a particularly conservative Democratic member of Congress, but facing some of those other sort of wins, really, in terms of the way that the Democratic Party is evolving.
Yeah, I mean, they're both for Medicare for all. They're pretty progressive on a range of things. What's also very interesting about this race that I think a lot of Democrats are going to be talking about is there was kind of an anti-APAC PAC that spent a lot of money on behalf of Nita Alam. And what they accused the incumbent of is basically her ties to APAC. Now, she has not taken money from APAC since 2024. She took some in 2024 and before that. But she has basically said, I'm not taking money from them, and she hasn't. But still, there's no question. I would say that is a factor here in how close this race is. And I think other Democrats are going to talk about that, and it's going to be a factor.
During my time off, I spoke to 3 big Democratic donors, right? And we were talking, who's doing well, who's not doing well. They didn't want to talk about anyone's names. All they wanted to talk about was Ken Paxton. And they said, tomorrow, Democrats need to wake up and realize this isn't about policy, this isn't about platform, this is about the United States. We cannot depend on the fact that we have free and fair elections here. And all 3 donors that I spoke to said, Democrats need to get their game on and bring the right weapons to this fight that we are now in for. Like, it's not even about, is it James Talarico? Is it going to be Jasmine Crockett? It's, do we have free and fair elections? And based on what we're seeing tonight, these 3 donors said, we don't feel that way. And I said, well, that means somebody's asking you for a big, big check tomorrow. And they all said, Yeah, we know. But it's amazing to me that like no one had any interest in talking about any of these individual candidates, and they are so thrown and bothered by what's happening tonight. You know, vis-a-vis Paxton.
Which actually, I mean, as much as you're saying it's not a politics thing, it's such a political opening for Democratic candidates and Democratic Party people who can recognize that's where the fuel is here. Standing up for American small d democracy as a small d Democrat right now is the best thing you could probably do for your political prospects.
Yes, but I think the point that we're trying to make is stop thinking small Democrats. Stop being kind and nice and considerate. This is the fight of your lifetime because it is about democracy.
Yeah.
Can I, just on this point, I was saying this during the break, but Greg Kazar, who's a progressive, he's chair of the Progressive Caucus. He's a Texas Democrat, rising star young. He tweeted, or X, or whatever we're calling it these days, basically saying James Talarico, the lead in that caucus race, is the future of the Democratic Party, and Jasmine Crockett is fantastic and great and can't wait to see what she does, essentially. I'm paraphrasing. But why I think this is interesting is because there's a recognition among leading Democrats who love Jasmine Crockett and love James Talarico that this is going to be a problem unless there is some type of unified front and kind of unified effort. So that's quite telling to me, and I think it's part of freaking people out because they're looking at this and they're like, this is chaotic, they're messing with us, what are we doing? But how they're messing with us.
We should also just note, I just want to say, like, just for the point of mathematical rigor here, that, like, we just don't know, A, what the margin might end up being and what the margin of the votes that are in that window are. And the reason I say that is not to say, like, well, it's fine, it doesn't matter, it's not outcome determinative. No, it does matter on principle grounds. But fundamentally, I think when you're thinking about, like, what the outcome of the election is, if the election is won by 6 or 7 points or 5 points or 4 points, I mean, it does matter a tremendous amount in terms of what happens in the rest of the night and the rest of the vote count.
I think this is so important. This is for these Democratic election officials, if they could share how many of these votes, I know we got some information from excellent reporting,
That was great reporting, yeah.
are out there that would help provide at least some clarity and some information.
May I interject with something that may be a constructive addition to this conversation? On the phone right now is Dallas County Elections Administrator Paul Adams, who can hopefully help us through some of the details here. Mr. Adams, thank you very much for taking time to join us tonight.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
So first of all, can you tell us what your job is and what you are responsible for, so we understand your remit and what your day has been like this far?
So I'm the Dallas County Elections Administrator, so I oversee elections administration in all of Dallas County, Texas.
Okay, and today Dallas County, Texas has had some trouble in its elections administration, which we've been following from here in New York, looking at this from the outside, and now seeing this grave consternation that it's causing, particularly in Democratic Party circles, worrying that something wrong has happened in Dallas County that might not only affect the outcome of these crucial Senate primaries, but that might signal that something has been sort of messed with in terms of people's ability to cast their votes and have them counted as they were cast. What should we understand about what's happened today in Dallas County and the kind of chaos that has been reported?
So I think what's important to know is that for the last handful of years, Dallas County voters have been used to voting at vote centers where they can go to any location in the county and cast their ballot. They were able to do that for early votes, which we had all the way up until this past Friday. And then, because the political parties were not able to enter into a joint election here in Texas, if both political parties agree to a joint election in the county, then there can be countywide voting. So that was continued. That had previously been the case. There was not a joint primary this time, so that forced us to go back to precinct-based voting, which has not happened in Dallas County in quite some time. I believe back to 2018. So then, voters who have been used to going to any location, maybe close to work, maybe close to school, now we're forced to go to precinct-based voting, like I said, has not happened here in nearly a decade. And that created quite a bit of confusion on election day.
In terms of the legal process that has played out over the course of this afternoon and into this evening. We initially saw an order, essentially, that because of a lot of voters experiencing the kind of confusion that you're describing, for the reasons that you're describing, there was an order that polling places should be held open longer than they otherwise would be in Dallas County. And then that order was suspended effectively during the extended polling times by an order of the Texas Supreme Court. First, let me ask you if I got all that right, if I said that correctly, and if I did, can you tell us what that has meant in practical terms in your county?
So you can tell you've been paying attention in terms of the practical matter. Practically when you're dealing with massive changes in election rules this quickly, which is not unheard of in an election, but when it's happening and you're dealing with the thousands of workers that we have out in the field, in order to properly shift them to make sure everybody is on the same page, can be a monumental task. And the kind of whiplash of going from 6 o'clock to approximately 6 o'clock, all the poll workers expecting, all right, we're going to close at 7, to then shortly after that being notified, no, we're going to stay open until 9 because of the order, but it only applies to the Democrats. As I mentioned, this was a non-joint primary, so it didn't apply to the Republicans. So there's just a message going out that the Republicans are still going to close at 7, Democrats will stay open until 9, and then this goes to the Texas Supreme Court. That then stays the decision, which we got sometime about 8:30, and now a message has to go then back out to the workers in the field to then accommodate that change that had happened because of the stay. So a lot of complex pieces happening all within a very, very quick amount of time for all the poll workers to be able to adjust to, and have to then explain to the voters that are in line of what is going on.
And if I'm understanding you correctly, all those poll workers are in myriad different locations because this is precinct-based voting, and so it's not like they're all in one place where they can all collectively get together physically in the same place and talk about how this is going to be done, right? This is disparate locations?
That is correct. These are hundreds of locations throughout the county that were selected by the political parties. So some of them are same places where you have Democrats, Republicans, other ones where there weren't. In this non-joint primary, when you go back to this precinct-based voting, it allows them to, the political parties, to choose all these different locations. But we do have communication tools to communicate with them. But once again, depending on how busy they are or various things that are going on, we need to make sure that we're paying attention to their messages and making sure that they're fulfilling each section of these requirements as they came down relatively quickly.
When the Supreme Court ordered that votes cast after 7 p.m., which was the initial closing time before it was extended, that votes cast after 7 p.m. should be essentially sequestered, that they should be kept, but kept separate from the other votes that were cast over the course of the day. Is that something that was technically feasible at all locations?
Technically feasible, yes, that they can sequester them. Any of the ballots that would be cast that's ordered by a court when a location has to stay open is going to vote by provisional ballot. So you would cast a provisional ballot, you would make a notation that it is because of a court order to be held after, or that was cast after 7 o'clock, that you were not on by 7 o'clock. Those already have mechanisms so they can be easily sequestered.
Okay. And is this still a live issue? As I was reading the Supreme Court ruling, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not necessarily good at reading specific stuff like this, even when I'm pretending to be a lawyer. But it seems to me that there was an indication that this is still a live issue, that this was essentially a stay that the Supreme Court had issued, but that this was a matter that was still going to be under further consideration. Is it still a live issue, and is that how and when it will be decided whether those provisional ballots are in fact counted?
Yeah, so at this point, it is my expectation that this is a stay for the time being. There will be continued litigation potentially on this, and then we'll see what happens. So I do not anticipate that this is the end of this particular situation. I anticipate that there will be further litigation about what has happened this evening.
Not just in Dallas County, but around the state of Texas, we have been noticing that election day votes haven't been tallied at a pace that's keeping up with other forms of early vote, in particular, and mail vote. When do you expect election day votes will be counted in Dallas County and those results reported?
I would imagine because of that initial stay that holds back the processing time, I anticipate it may not be until well into the early morning hours that we will have final numbers. At this point, we're still waiting on a handful of locations to report back. This is a geographically large county, not just large in population, but large in geography. So some of these places that have been open later, even when that court ruling, when the state came down, if you had anybody in line that had been there at 7 o'clock and was in line, they were still allowed to vote a regular ballot. And we do know there were a few locations in the county that had lines that had been that long. So there were cases where people were still voting up until relatively recently. So we expect it's going to be a little while before those returns come in.
Dallas County Elections Administrator Paul Adams, I'm just going to ask you one last question before we let you go, and I really appreciate you giving us this time tonight, helping us understand this with such clarity to our audience as we've been talking about this so long tonight. There are going to be a lot of people who are having a lot of feelings about what has happened in Dallas County tonight. We're already seeing people sort of theorizing and coming up with relatively, elaborate speculation in terms of who done it and why this happened and who was behind it and whose fault it is, and whether or not the election results from Dallas County and therefore from Texas should be trusted. I just wanted to put that to you as Dallas County Elections Administrator and just ask what you would say to the voters of Dallas County and other people looking in on your county from outside, around the state and around the country right now, who are having those types of sort of dark feelings about what's happening here.
Well, I would say two things. I would say that first, I think that's one of the reasons why I support countywide vote centers to allow the voters to vote at any location where they have previously in the county. I think it's convenient. I think it is helpful to the voters to vote that way. The other thing I would say, when people are looking for, okay, well, who's behind what's going on? As I mentioned previously, all of the election workers that are here in the county, these are not people that have been brought in from someplace else. These are your family, your friends, your neighbors, community members that step up and volunteer to put on this process. And that, to me, is what helps ensure the integrity of our system, is that we have people that are just from every walk of life that are stepping up, serving basically as volunteers to make sure that our system of democracy works.
Well, Paul Adams, you expected to be approaching the end of what I know has been a very busy season and a very long day and a long night already. I dare say that you are just at the beginning. So good luck to you and your colleagues in Dallas County. And again, I really do appreciate your spending this time with us to help us understand what's happening there. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
I should say that in Texas, we are seeing some counties starting to post their day of vote. We're going to be checking in on one very big one next right after this break. Much more I have to say.
Moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms can keep you out of the picture. Now, there's Sky Blizzard. Get back in the picture. Skyrizzi is proven to help deliver relief, repair, and remission. Feel significant symptom relief as early as 4 weeks. Skyrizzi is proven to help physically repair damage of the intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year, and to help people achieve lasting remission.
Don't use allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight may occur before treatment is checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms of vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or UC.
Ready to get back in the picture with Skyrizzi? Ask your doctor about the #1 prescribed biologic and frozen UCP body.
I remember my heart was beating so fast. It's like group before the I remember getting my first jersey. When you get there, you feel like that gut feeling of excitement. I love was like I remember that scene. I was screaming my heart out at that concert.
From snacks to seats to souvenirs, cashback on experiences you'll never forget. Chase Freedom Unlimited. When your gut is out of balance, your body gives you signs. So if you're frustrated with occasional bloating or gas, help stop the frustration and start taking Align every day. Align Probiotic is specifically designed by gastroenterologists to help relieve your occasional bloating and gas, so you can enjoy life. When you feel the signs, it's time to try Align.
The cold truth is, you can't work from home when you're sick. You need fast relief. Alka-Seltzer Plus Day Cold and Flu Liquid Gels burst into action, relieving your cold and flu symptoms fast. Nothing works faster. Alka-Seltzer Plus.
We knew our last Verbo was going to be incredible. We didn't know the hot tub was broken. But thanks to Verbo Care and 24/7 life support, we moved into a better place, better hot tub.
Got any room for that?
Teenagers are full of surprises. Verbo is not. If you know, you Verbo.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, door to door, nationwide. For full visibility, we are real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
Job and purpose. Your work clock now basic. Grand Canyon University, an affordable private Christian university, is one of the largest universities in the country, offering more than 285 programs online. In addition to federal grants and aid, GCU's online students received nearly $161 million in institutional scholarships in 2024. Find your purpose. Grand Canyon University, private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu/myoffer to see the scholarships you may qualify for.
Welcome back to our coverage of the first big primary night of the 2026 midterms. Here's a really interesting race. This is not something that we would typically be talking about at the national level, but there is a state Senate race in North Carolina where it is the state Senate Republican leader. His name is Phil Berger, and he's been the most powerful Republican in North Carolina for like 15 years. And he was facing a primary challenge this year, tonight, from a very popular, very MAGA local county, a local sheriff, a local elected sheriff. This state Senate leader in North Carolina then decided, out of the goodness of his heart, that he would definitely force through redistricting in North Carolina to benefit the Republican Party, and then miraculously, after doing so, got the President of the United States to endorse him in his state Senate race in North Carolina, rather than the MAGA sheriff, who was this guy. The MAGA sheriff guy was like the head of sheriffs for Trump in 2016, and he was Trump's North Carolina chairman in 2020, I think. So it's been this incredibly interesting race where there's this very MAGA guy who's very like Trump's favorite kind of guy, like wears cowboy hat and the whole thing, against this guy who did Trump real solid, and who is a very powerful North Carolina Republican leader.
And got the endorsement in exchange.
And did get the endorsement from Trump. As of right now, in that race, this is the North Carolina State Senate President Pro Tem Phil Berger. There's 99.09% of the precincts have reported at this point, and the The distance between them is 50.00% to 50.00%. It is literally 2 votes between them out of 26,000 votes cast. Phil Berger has 13,075 votes, and the sheriff who's primarying him has 13,077 votes, which is just, I mean, hey, every vote counts. Presumably that will be going to recount going wrong.
Kind of interesting too, though, because there's a little bit of this like, there's the Trump endorsement, and then it's like, we really know who you support. You know what I mean? With like, you can get him, someone to put the phone in front of him, and he can do the like, he's like, but like, he knows. Trump wants to win. It's like, there's only so much that works.
Alex, what do we got right now in terms of some of these things we want in the House races? I'm also curious as to whether the election day, same day votes coming in Texas Senate Democratic.
We are getting some of that, but this is Stephanie's here, my old friend. I have a little pop quiz for you. What do the Texas Rangers, the Atlanta Braves, the Los Angeles Angels, and the New York Times have in common?
New York Times?
New York Yankees. Thank you very much. New York Yankees.
Baseball.
Baseball. Played for all of those teams, with 75% of the vote in Texas 21, which is an interesting district because it's sort of the suburb of Boston and the suburb of San Antonio and a whole lot of Texas. He has been called as the winner, and that was 61% of the vote. Mark Teixeira, endorsed by Greg Abbott, endorsed by Donald Trump, and he will be the Republican candidate there in that district. Nice, Stephanie, you win. All right, this is why 68% of the vote is in. Talarico has 52%, to Jasmine Crockett 47%. And you can see the day of vote is still scant, 8 to 10% of the vote. Well, let's go to Talarico's backyard, Austin, Texas. 72% of the vote is in there. He's got 76% of the vote so far, and you can see that of the day of vote, he's performing about 17% of the total votes is day off for him, 16% for Jasmine Crockett. So the percentages are very similar around there. Going through the state, you can still see Harris County, Houston, virtually no election day vote there. We already know that Dallas has no day of vote there. Fort Worth, again, very little. So there's still a lot of day of votes to come in. Bear County, which is San Antonio, has very little. Corpus Christi, Nueces County, 78% of the vote in. You can see there, and we're seeing this in some Texas counties where it's more than a quarter, sometimes 30 or 40%. But generally speaking, we're still missing a lot of day of vote here. But at the moment, 68% of the state is in. And as we are describing it, it's too early to call because there's just a lot of votes that we don't have there. In order for Jasmine Crockett to pull ahead, by the way, we'd have to see her overperform in Dallas. There are a lot of votes in Dallas. That's where she is likely to do the best, and she'd have to perform very well. She'd have to overperform her mail-in and advanced ballots on the day of voting. But it's entirely possible that she did. We just won't know.
And to be clear, the sort of breaking news that we just reported in conversation with the Dallas County Elections Administrator, I asked him directly when he thinks the day of votes for Dallas County will be counted. He said he doesn't think until at least the early morning hours. So we're going to be looking at a long trail in terms of when those votes are coming in Texas. All right, we got still much more ahead tonight. The night is young. We'll be right back. Stay after this.
Dry eye relief isn't just a feeling. It's a science. TheraTears has oxalates, a unique blend of the 5 vital electrolytes found in natural tears, all working together to support hydration. For a feeling no other drop can give. Give your eyes a burst of long-lasting relief with TheraTears Dry Eye Therapy. Science-backed hydration.
The cold truth is, you can't work from home when you're sick. You need fast relief. Alka-Seltzer Plus Stay Cold and flu symptoms fast. Nothing works faster. Alka-Seltzer Plus. Check it out. Now that I've reevaluated my workplace benefits and retirement savings with Voya, I'm feeling great. How's your retirement plan going?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm ignoring it and hoping for the best.
Ignoring it?
And hoping for the best.
Well, Voya is helping me make the right benefit and investment choices for my future.
Check this out, though. Come on. Good retirement.
Correct.
Don't just hope for a strong future, plan for one. With Loyal, plan, invest, protect.
When your gut is out of balance, your body gives you signs. So if you're frustrated with occasional bloating or gas, help stop the frustration and start taking Align every day. Align for Well is specifically designed by gastroenterologists to help relieve your occasional bloating and gas. So you can enjoy life. When you feel the signs, it's time to try Align.
Planning to move? Choose Pods, the most awarded container moving company. Pods brings the container to you. Then they'll take it to your new home or store it at a secure pod storage center. And you don't have to do the driving. Trust Pods with your next move. Look at pods.com.
This is the true story of Alex. Recently promoted, he was earning more, but investing for the future, I definitely needed a plan. With his advisor Dennis, Alex invested his savings into 3 accounts, one for now, one for later, and of course, his retirement. A plan in motion with the future in focus. The wedding, the barndominium, kids, maybe kids. The point here, Alex has more than big goals for his future. He's got a plan to get there.
As I started growing out my natural hair color, I noticed my moderate to severe lines. I booked a Botox cosmetic consultation to temporarily make my brow, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better. What was important to me was that I still look like me, just with fewer lines. And I'm confident about my results.
Botox cosmetic effects may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox cosmetic if you have skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow, eyelid drooping, or swelling. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, and medications including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
I'm the one and only Delphina, and I got treated with the one and only Botox Cosmetic.
Find a licensed Botox Cosmetic specialist at BotoxCosmetic.com.
This is Fresh Pet. Here, there are no fillers, no spray-on flavors. There are no cut corners, no easy ways out. Just vet-developed recipes packed with fresh meat and healthy veggies. Because real, fresh, healthy food belongs in everybody's bowl. Fresh Pet. Healthy food, fresh from the fridge.
How we doing, Texas? Y'all having a good night out there? We fired up? We feeling good? Y'all ready to take our state back? I am Austin State Representative John Busey. I have the pleasure of serving with my good friend and decimate for the last 8 years, James Talarico, in the Texas House. I want to let you know that tonight our movement is shocking the nation. Our team is feeling confident, but we are waiting on an official call. So I am here to tell you, don't anybody go anywhere. Stick around. This has been a long fight. It's going to be a longer fight, and we're not going home yet. We'll be back soon with some more updates. Thank you, Texas.
But it was good that he did that. Yeah. Follow Stephanie's direction.
He's such an interesting candidate because he's not a traditional political candidate, but you are an expert. Tell us a little bit about this district and about why he could give Democrats a shot, if you think that's the case.
It's a huge outcome for the Democrats. He was a heavily recruited candidate. He speaks to a number of people in rural, heavily Hispanic communities who might not traditionally vote, or they may have been the folks who voted for Trump and the Republicans last time after a long history of voting Democratic previously. To the degree that part of the Democrats' calculation here is winning back Hispanic voters they lost, they think Bobby Julio is their secret weapon. Again, rural, conservative, Hispanic voters respond to this guy because of his non-traditional background. He's been able to have conversations with people who never would have talked to a Democratic candidate, might never have seen a Democratic candidate in this district. Monica De La Cruz, the incumbent, is one of those people who the Republicans thought they'd be able to get reelected pretty easily if the Democrats just took a pass on this race, but they actually have a real candidate as their standard bearer, and this will be a real race in the fall, and it could be the difference for Democrats as they try to get the majority back in the U.S. House. This is one of those seats they could win, they have to win, and the Trump midterm, they've made it.
I followed this race a little bit, but I think it's interesting too because his positions don't seem to be all aligned traditionally with progressive Democrats or Democrats from Washington. He's been a little bit apolitical, but can you tell us a little bit more about his candidacy? Because it's not like an anti-Trump and an anti-Trump year. It's a lot more complex than that.
He is not a culture war Democrat at all. He's talking about the economy, kitchen table issues, affordability. He's talking about public education. School vouchers passed in the last Texas legislative session. So for the first time now, school vouchers are the law in Texas. He has been campaigning against school vouchers, for public education. He's making his whole candidacy about economic opportunity. And again, the economy was one of the reasons that many of those conservative Hispanic voters in the last election switched from Democrat to Republican. He is taking back that issue on behalf of the Democrats, on behalf of his campaign. And so he is not running a traditional national Democratic Party playbook. He is staying very close to them. He's speaking to the things that matter to the district. And it's really, it begins and ends with the economy.
Are Republicans also nervous about this race?
Well, I talked to Republican consultants who are completely worried that Polito is going to be the nominee in this race. Ada Cuellar, who is an emergency room physician, by all accounts, a really good person and was a strong candidate in this race, the one who finished in second. They thought they were going to run against her. They were very worried about Polito possibly winning this race, and he did. He won handily. And because of his name ID in these communities, among people, again, who don't traditionally vote, when he shows up in these rural counties, he draws enormous crowds. He did during the primaries. They're worried about Polito.
Evan Smith, interesting race to watch. Thank you so much.
I gotta say, it's been great to have Evan here and Rosa and Jacob and everybody we're talking to from Texas, to have Eugene and Simone talking to their sources in Texas. It's been really fascinating. So we continue to watch those Senate Democratic primary results come in from Texas. I should also tell you that a state senator apparently just came out at Talarico headquarters in Texas and told people who are still there waiting on results that they should not go home. We don't know exactly what that means, but somebody just came out there and told people not to go home. For us, we're not going home. Our coverage continues. Not in a sense. Stay with us.
Karan trusts Prevagen for her brain, and this is her story.
My name is Karan, and I'm from Brooklyn. I work for the city of New York as a police administrator. I oversee approximately 20 people. I did research, and I decided to give Prevagen a try. I felt amazing. I've been taking Prevagen for 4 years now. I feel confident. It's a life changer.
Prevagen has been the #1 soaking brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
Brandon Cornyn, Jablonski Auto Body, LLC. Did she go out here? And how she said the twins name?
Canadians do. Very good.
Oasis Greens and Spa.
The right money, these aren't as absurd as you think.
Don't let what's happening outside affect how you feel inside. Hella windows are tested against extreme heat, cold, wind, and rain.
Here's to 30 grams of protein with no added sugar. Here's to 160 calories in all its daily flavors. Premier protein. Shake, twist, crack. Go get 'em.
Planning to move? Choose Pods, the most awarded container moving company. Pods brings the container to you, then we'll take it to your new home or store it at a secure pod storage center. And you don't have to do the driving. Trust Pods with your next move. Book at pods.com.
We knew our last Verbo was going to be incredible. We didn't know the hot tub was broken. But thanks to Verbo Care and 24/7 life support, we moved that better place, better hot tub.
Got any room for Dad?
Teenagers are full of surprises. Verbo is not. If you know, you Verbo.
At Ancestry, we believe every question about the past is a spark. And when curiosity strikes about the everyday lives of your family, we're here with answers only your ancestors can provide. How is your family woven into 250 years of U.S. history? Find out now at Ancestry.
Don't let congestion take over. After no trip. Wow, ridiculously fast nasal congestion relief. The wow is real.
And now try new drug-free Afrin.
Brandon Coley, Jablonski Auto Body, LLC.
Stadiums, dude. Very looking.
Oasis Greens and Spa.
The right money means aren't as absurd as you think.
Now's the time to dream bigger and do more. Floor and decor is ready. How about you?
Learn more about Celebrity Cruises' latest offers.
How do you think about your last year's survey and what you want to accomplish over this next year? Do you trust the FBI to handle the oversight of this investigation? That is what media does. They hold power to account.
Stay up to date on the biggest issues of the day with the MS Now Daily Newsletter. Get the best of MS Now all in one place. Sign up at ms.now.
Hello and welcome to MS Now's special coverage of these first primary races of the 2026 midterm elections. It is midnight on the East Coast. I'm Lisa Menendez here with Simone Sanders-Townsend and Michael Steele at MS Now's headquarters in New York City. We're tracking results tonight out of Texas, North Carolina, and Arkansas. Both Texas and North Carolina have key Senate races that could determine which party controls the chamber for the last 2 years of Donald Trump's second term. In the Tar Heel state, the Associated Press projects former North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper has won the state's Democratic primary for U.S. Senate. Cooper is now set to face off against Michael Whatley for the state's GOP nomination. Whatley is the former chair of the Republican National Committee, an election denier and a staunch Trump ally. And in Texas, the AP projects Republican incumbent Senator John Cornyn and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton will both advance for runoff on May 26th. On the Democratic side for Texas Senate, the race too early to call at this hour. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is trailing State Representative James Talarico by about 5 points and nearly 70% of the estimated vote. And the main reason we don't yet have a declared winner is because of the chaos on the ground. Tonight, the Texas Supreme Court temporarily blocked a ruling from a Dallas County judge that extended voting hours for the county. The judge made that ruling over, quote, mass confusion at some polling places. The voters were turned away and redirected to other precincts. So let's be clear. This is the kind of chaos Trump and his allies are hoping for, sowing doubt about the strength of our election systems, as the Congresswoman Crockett said about Dallas County earlier tonight.
We're not going to have election results tonight, in my opinion, based upon what specifically is taking place in Dallas County. Unfortunately, this is what Republicans like to do. And so they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why. So, I want you to enjoy yourselves, but I won't be back tonight because I have no idea of when we're going to get results, and I fully anticipate it won't be until tomorrow.
Crockett's opponent, James Talarico, has yet to address the force. He does. As soon as he does, we're going to bring you his speech live. Let's check in first with MS Now's chief data reporter, Ali Velshi, at the big board. What do you got for us, Ali?
You want to do this the easy way or the hard way?
Hard way, always.
We're starting with the Democrats in Texas. As you said, we're at 72% of the vote right now. The difference here, 52.5% for Talarico, 46% for Jasmine Crockett. She's sort of underperforming in areas where she would have had to overperform. Those areas are the Rio Grande Valley, where Talarico has done very well. I'll give you a few examples right now. In Nevada County, 71% in, 60% to 59% to 33. In Star, 62% to 29 for Talarico. In Hidalgo, 66 to 30. All that kind of stuff. She's actually done Kennedy County, 48%. Jasmine Crockett has a small lead. These are tiny numbers. See, 41 votes to 30 votes. Let's go to Williamson County. We've been waiting on this all night. Like Dallas County, there were some delays here, and for most of the night, we had no votes. We now have 58% of the vote in. Again, we don't know whether that's early or day of, because it's not broken out in this county just yet. So Talarico's got 72% to Jasmine Crockett's 27%. This is in his backyard. He's from Austin. Travis County, which is Austin, look at that, 76 to 23. Just below that in Hayes County, 72 to 26. So in the areas that he was expected to perform well, he's performed very well. In her strongholds, including Dallas, 61% of the vote in, and we've been stuck at this number for a while. She's getting 60% to 38. So you see, she's not overperforming in the places that she was going to overperform. However, in Dallas County, which is going to be her richest source of votes, we're missing so many day of votes because of the confusion you just described, that I think she's hoping that new data that comes in is going to support and narrow her gap with Talarico. So that's what we're looking at over here. In the House races around here, we've had some interesting stories. In Houston, I'll just show you District 18. This is Christian Menefee, who's been in the House, I think, 3 weeks or something. He's brand new, versus Al Green. Two incumbents going up against each other. It's more Menefee's district than it is Al Green's, the way it broke down demographically. But with 70% of the vote in, they're separated by 2,500 votes. Menefee is as at 48% to Al Green's 43%. There are 3 or 4 examples at least tonight of incumbents who have gone down to defeat by challengers. I wouldn't put this into that category because it was 2 incumbents in a redistricted district. But there are a number of incumbents who have either lost or are losing tonight.
All right, Ali Velshi, thanks so much. Ali Velshi, don't go far, Ali.
I'm not going anywhere.
To be clear, we're going to be coming back to you.
I'm attached to this place.
All right, you and the vest, we need you to stay. Joining us now is Evan Smith with The Atlantic. Evan, if you've been following our coverage, you've been seeing him. He's been following every legal twist and turn in Dallas County tonight. Evan, where are we at 12:06 p.m. or a.m. Eastern Standard Time?
Well, as it relates to Dallas County, we're kind of where we were an hour ago, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. We're on hold, right? We have a Supreme Court stay on that last 2 hours where voting was extended in Dallas County, and they're going to partition those votes, anybody in line after 7 o'clock, put those to the side, not count those yet, and we're going to see what happens tomorrow, I guess, whether those votes will be counted or not. And you heard Congresswoman Crockett say we're not going to have results till tomorrow. I think the open question, Simone, honestly, is will the votes that we're talking about in Dallas County that are being partitioned add up to enough to make up a difference between Talarico and Crockett if every other vote is counted? We don't know what the math is going to turn out to be. So for the moment, we're on hold. We're going to see what happens tomorrow night.
I want to look a little across the aisle at the Republican results tonight. You've got... Yeah, right? You've got Cornyn, just sitting there at 43% and Paxton at 40, clearly a runoff. Talk about the dynamics that led to this, and then what does the next 2.5 months look like, sliding into what I think will be a fairly ugly bid by Cornyn to keep his seat. He's already come out tonight basically throwing down hard. What say you, friend?
Yeah. Well, first of all, this is, believe it or not, a good night for John Cornyn. Most of the polls had Paxton in first and Cornyn in second. You had even people suggesting that, is there a chance maybe Cornyn might not even make a runoff? I never believed that. But the idea that Cornyn would finish in first is actually the good news for Cornyn. The bad news is that he's known to the state for having been elected a whole bunch of times to this seat, and he couldn't get to 50% in this first round. And the most dangerous place for an incumbent to be is in a runoff. You know that. And so the Paxton folks are going to come out with both barrels blazing against Cornyn. Cornyn is going to swing with both fists against Paxton. Those of us in Texas who have been bored by our non-competitive politics for the last 30 years, boy howdy, this is going to be a great 2 months to watch. And it's going to be unbelievably expensive. This is the most expensive Senate race between the Democrats and the Republicans in the history of Senate races. The spending in the primary season so far has already broken records. These guys are going to spend so much money over the next 2 months. And this runoff is at the end of May. It's at a time when it's going to be very low turnout. Although I will say this, there are something like 4 or even 5 I think it's 4 statewide races that are all going to be in runoffs in that May runoff, which is the most ever. And so there'll be much more attention to politics in that runoff season than we typically have. But it'll be low turnout. It'll be hard fought. It'll be unbelievably expensive. And, they're going to bloody each other so that whoever the Democratic nominee ends up being, their opponent will have had to go through this 2 months, which is an advantage for the Democrat.
Well, as they say, get in that saddle and put that cowboy hat on and get ready for a ride. It's going to be a lot of fun down in Texas. It is indeed. It really appreciate you, Evan Smith. Thank you so much.
Can we talk about the Republicans first?
Well,
I'm trying to talk about somebody else.
Well, I was going to just keep talking about the Democrats first.
Well, let me just say why about the Republicans. Look, there's a lot. We've been saying a lot in the lead up to this, understandably so, that there are some real concerns with Ken Paxton, the current Attorney General. He is literally like MAGA made for the moment. The thing is this, while there are concerns from the, I would call it, if there's even establishment Republicans anymore in the Republicans.
They're three in the closet.
Okay, all right. Well, I think he's concerned for them, but if you think about, I go back to the Biden administration, all of